or our country. A coalition of unions, members of Congress, progressive groups, and others wrote a joint letter to Obama calling for drastic changes to local police forces around the country after the death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. I can smell these people 1,000 miles away. That is, leftists. I know what they're doing. I know what they're doing. And so the leftists want to nationalize local police forces. Tell me, where's the authority for that under our federal Constitution? The letter, which was distributed via an ad in the Washington Compost, calls for a demilitarization of police forces, an effort to increase diversity, and the establishment of a federal czar to promote the professionalization of local law enforcement. The proliferation, I already read that part. Demilitarization advocates have already been calling for swift action in Washington, but this letter goes much further than what they were asking for. And it goes on. That's right. Got to destroy local governments, including all their units and appendages. You've got to destroy state governments. You cannot have any independence. You cannot have any independent thinking, independent acting. And ladies and gentlemen, when you look at this police force, this Ferguson police force, which has been attacked and attacked and attacked over and over and over again by liberals, among others, but mostly liberals, all that military hardware they have or said to have had, and I'm not big on that myself in some respects, but not in every respect, wasn't used to harm anybody, wasn't used to kill anybody. Remember Ruby Ridge? Those of you who don't, go ahead and Google it, as well as other events of the federal government. I don't remember leftists calling for the demilitarization of federal agencies and departments. Matter of fact, I see the opposite. I see the opposite. There's a piece here that I've been holding on to just for this occasion by our friend Kerry Pickett at Breitbart. It's about 12 days old, and I don't know if any of you have even heard about this. A leaked document from the Department of Homeland Security's Office of Intelligence and Analysis predicts increased anti-government violence over the next year. The document says the inspiration for violence is Cliven Bundy's Bunkerville standoff with the Bureau of Land Management from earlier in the year. And I'm thinking to myself, wasn't there more violence in Missouri, in Ferguson? Certainly than there was at Bunkerville, at the standoff with the BLM. DHS's 7-page report entitled Domestic Violence Extremists Pose a Threat to the Government and Government Officials and Law Enforcement points to the recent murders of 2 Las Vegas law enforcement officers as evidence that there's growing trend of anti-government violence compared to the previous 4 years and inspired by perceived government overreach and oppression, and the perceived victory at Bunkerville will likely prompt more violence. Now, what's remarkable about this, if not sickly ironic, is some of the language they're using in this report. Does it not apply to the language that was used at Michael Brown's funeral by the likes of Al Sharpton? I mean, who's pretending not to preach violence, and yet with a wink and a nod, encouraging it? And in fact, it has occurred. Is the Department of Homeland Security's Office of Intelligence and Analysis going to issue another report about the organizations and the efforts where people were throwing Molotov cocktails? Did anyone throw a Molotov cocktail at Bunkerville? I don't think so. Were stores looted and rampaged in Bunkerville? No. Of course, there aren't any. Bundy's 20-year legal dispute with the BLM over grazing fees on federal land escalated when the agency attempted to seize his cattle in the beginning of April. An armed standoff between the BLM and supporters of Bundy ensued until the feds backed off before any serious violence erupted and left the 66-year-old rancher's land. Was Al Sharpton there? Jesse Jackson there? Did the Attorney General go there? Did they ask the BLM to disarm, to back off? Did they unleash their civil rights unit to investigate Bundy's rights, to see if they've been abused? No. Why? Because there's a double standard. There's a triple standard. There's a quadruple standard in this country. Of course, all the facts aren't the same. That's not the point. Listen to the propaganda. Listen to the comments. Listen to the language. Gerald and Amanda Miller, a husband and wife who were at the Bundy Ranch, later killed 3 people in Las Vegas, including 2 police officers, before killing themselves. The 2 left an ominous note, swastika, Gadsden flag by their bodies of both officers. Amon Bundy, son of rancher Cliven Bundy, told the AP the Millers were not welcome at the ranch and were kicked out after a few days. calling them very radical and that they didn't align themselves with the Bundy protest movement. And it goes on. The point is that anybody who kills a cop should be dealt with severely, with the heavy hand of justice, the iron fist of justice. Anybody who assaults a cop should be dealt with the iron fist of justice too. See, the time to register complaints, if there are complaints that are legitimate to be registered, are after the fact.